Hello. Thank you. My name is Jim Smurden, and on behalf of the entire ICSC Whistler Organizing Committee, including Chris Chen and Nina Aurora, I'd like to welcome you to the keynote session. It is my honor and privilege to introduce our most anticipated session ever at Whistler ICSC. This is a conversation with Steve Wozniak. This conversation is going to be with Jeff Lee of the Vancouver Sun. I've known Jeff Lee for a couple years now, and I've learned that he's one of these rare people who you can discuss just about anything. And you'll get a well-considered and intelligent opinion, and many of them. Hey, Jeff, what's really going on down at City Hall? Jeff, what's it like to be a journalist in a war zone? Jeff, what's the true cause of colony collapse disorder in native honeybee populations? He knows the answer. These are actually questions I've tried on Jeff and enjoyed the following discussions. As I said, he's a Vancouver Sun reporter and lives in New Westminster with his lovely wife, Amanda. Steve Wozniak, I'll do a brief intro and Jeff will do more of one. We all know Steve Wozniak. We've welcomed him into our homes for years. He's been one of the family. The first time Mr. Wozniak came into my home, it was in 1985 in Winnipeg, when my dad came home and put this on the table. It's an Apple IIc, and I think my dad still uses it. The Apple was accessible, amazingly advanced, and ahead of its time. The same words that have been used to describe the Woz himself. I'm going to introduce Jeff Lee now, and Steve, could you take the stage, please? And just a quick announcement. After their discussion, we'll be giving away 2 iPads, so stick around.
Thank you very much. Boy, I sure hope I'm in that iPad drawing.
Yeah, well, I was, and I didn't win one. You know, when I was asked to do this, I was quite flattered because, you know, I don't get starstruck by people, and so, you know, doing this was to add to my knowledge of all things, including what causes colony collapse disorder. I want to tell you that I didn't bring an iPad. I'm running from paper. So I want to say that I don't know of anybody in the world who has this kind of a resume. Someone who created a product, a personal computer, whose legacy has altered the very fabric of our society. Someone who co-founded one of the most powerful and influential companies in the world. Someone who's in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Someone who quit Apple, which today is trading at $422 a share, so he could do something like teach grade 5 school, which he did. He's also someone who plays Segway polo. You know, that's a very rare boom. He's danced with Karina Smirnoff on Dancing with the Stars. I don't know how many of you can say that, but I can't. And the last 2. He mastered Tetris so well that Nintendo would not post his high scores anymore. He got around that by using the alphabetically reversed name Yvetz Kainzau. And the last one is that you can't say this of very many people, that when he began the blue box phone hacking phenomenon, he once called up the Vatican hacking through AT&T and tried to ask for the Pope pretending that he was Henry Kissinger. Great sense of humor. So listen, with all of that, why don't you start out by telling us, because this is what a lot of people want to know, how it came to be that you started this Wonder Apple.
Okay, well, first of all, when I was very young in school, I was good at math, for a starter. And I lived in a brand new neighborhood in a city called Sunnyvale. It's now called Silicon Valley, but it wasn't called Silicon Valley then. It was Santa Clara Valley full of fruit trees. And a whole bunch of people were moving in to work for a new company. Lockheed was expanding. And Lockheed was designing, all these missiles and things like that, and rocket ships. It was the space race was on. So a lot of engineers moved in. That meant a lot of us kids in the new neighborhood surrounded. We had to ride our bikes through orchards on, 4 sides of our housing development. But the kids had engineers for fathers that were teaching them electronics, or emphasizing, getting a few electronic parts. Here's how you hook them up and put them together. And I got such a young start. I had incredible science fair projects that when I look back, how could a kid that young have built these things with hundreds of parts and having learned all the mathematics and electronics and the computer logic and everything to build, really incredible computers that could play games like tic-tac-toe? By 6th grade, I got a ham radio license when you had to build your ham radio out of kits with tubes, vacuum tubes, and big, huge components you'd solder in place and make the radios work. So I had a big, huge start, and I discovered in high school how I loved computers, but there were no books on computers, no classes, so I self-taught. I just got a description of a computer, and I said, using what I did with all my little electronics projects with transistors, designing logic gates that make decisions like a light switch, up or down.
You're meeting the guy who wrote the first computers for dummies.
So like little light switches, these little circuits added up to play tic-tac-toe. I said, how could you build a computer out of that? Or, and I started trying, and very slow. Took weeks at first and didn't finish. And then I'd close my door on weekends, and I would try again and again. And I taught myself, here's a method. Using chips that are made by some companies that are local. They're building these chips for Lockheed and the military. Here's how you could design a full working computer that does computations for business. I taught myself, and then I played a game. I got manuals that described every single computer being built in those days. All the computers from Hewlett-Packard, IBM, Univac, not Univac, but Digital Equipment Corporation, Data General, Varian Corporation. I got their manuals, and on weekends, I sat down and designed each of their computers. So I got to where I could design computers in a couple of days. So I was a superstar in electronics and in computers, and I never thought I'd have a job doing it because I didn't think there were jobs. I was going to be an engineer like my dad, and I told him in 6th grade, I'm going to be an engineer first, but I want to be a 5th grade teacher second. And that was in my heart. But I'm going to be an engineer. But engineers design radios and TVs, guidance systems for missiles and stuff, and that's what I'd be doing. I didn't think engineers actually designed computers. So I did it for fun. It was total hobby, and I designed computers over and over and over, and I made a game. This is very unusual. How do you get good at something? Well, you go out, let's say it's baseball, or let's say it's soccer. You go out and you play and you play and you play, and you get better and better the more you do it. Well, I was sitting here designing all these computers, and I made a game up of how can I make it better with fewer parts. Fewer parts, and I came up with all these tricks in my head, sometimes tricks that you could never even put in a book. Some of the best designs in my life would not really be allowed by any book, any company, any school course if they knew I was doing it, yet I knew that they would always work. I knew reasons why they would work, but they were beyond the books. So I just got to where I could write the book, and I believe in that strongly. You go to school and you learn how to do something, designing computers, for example. You learn how to do it the way it's been done out of books. The right answers are always in the book, but that means it's somebody else's answer. And I was the sort of person that was taught engineers design their own things. They learn all these techniques to create things that never existed before, and so I was always going to be pure and just do all my own designs from scratch, never just copy something somebody else had designed. Right. And that was actually quite a bit different, but I got so incredibly skilled at it. That was phase 1. Phase 2 was during my college years. During my college years, I actually managed to get, an executive said he could get me some chips. I could never afford a single chip. He could get me some chips for a computer of my design. I went home and designed one in one night, and he came back and he gave me the chips, and I built it up at a friend's house down the street, and he introduced me to Steve Jobs. And Steve had a similar interest. He was good in electronics, and he liked playing pranks at our high school, and we just hit it off. We liked the same sort of music. We liked the same thoughts about life, the same counterculture thinking that was popular in those days. So we became really good friends. Meanwhile, Steve went off to his one college where they told him, here are the classes you have to take. He was so independent, he wouldn't take those classes. So he didn't attend a single day of class. He just sat in his dorm the first week of school, and I was so shocked. I could never do that. I was kind of more normal, more central. But I was doing great in college in engineering, and unfortunately, after my third year of college, I took a year off to earn the money for my fourth year. After my third year of college. 1 year to earn the money. I got this incredible job for the hottest company in the world, building the hottest product in the world, the Hewlett-Packard 35 scientific calculator. The calculator that was going to eventually revolutionize finance, engineering, science, and everything. Slide rules were going to disappear in 2 years. It was the iPhone 4 of its day. And I got a job working designing them because I didn't need a college degree. They interviewed me. They saw that I could design anything. And so here I am working on the greatest project ever. But I didn't have any hope of having a girlfriend or a wife back then. So that means after work, I could still work on my own electronic ideas. And I started the first dial-a-joke in San Jose, which was very rare. And I saw Pong, the first really successful arcade video game. Oh my God, I saw it at a bowling alley, and it popped in my head. I remember how television signals work from high school electronics. And I can design anything that puts out any kind of signals. I can make a Pong game on my own TV at home because nobody could afford input-output devices. Big, huge teletypes, machines you would type on, were totally unaffordable if you had no money. I had no money. But I have a television. It's free. So I designed and built my own little Pong game. And then Steve Jobs came back from college, and he saw it. And he took it down to Atari. And I think he portrayed it like we both designed it, but they hired him. And then Steve has a strange personality, arguing with a lot of people and trying to get his own ideas in. So they put him on the night shift with nobody else around. So he had to work alone. And it was cool. I'd go and visit him at night. And then we got a job, the two of us, to build a one-player Pong game. And I designed it in 4 days and nights, which is unheard of. You can't do that. It wasn't software. It was hardware games. That was a 6-man-month project. And I was the best. I didn't even think I could do it. Didn't sleep for 4 days. Got the sleeping sickness, mononucleosis. And we delivered Breakout to Atari. So that was my design, the Breakout game, which you've heard of. And then I'm doing project. Then Steve and I discovered there's a device called the ARPANET. It's the forerunner of today's internet. It was the inspiration for today's internet. The US military was sponsoring long-distance hookups between colleges around our country on both coasts and in the middle. And it was up to about 12 colleges, and you could log on, print a list of the colleges, select 4 for Stanford, go onto their computer, log in as a guest, and run programs. Oh my God, it's like you were a Superman. Today, this is common stuff. But back then, it was unheard of. I had to have one of these. So I built a device that would put words on my TV. I could type into a keyboard to a computer out in Boston, and the Boston computer could talk back to my TV. Wow, this is just incredible. Steve found a way to sell that, too. Every time I designed something, he always found a way to sell it.